Visiting climate expert Professor Bradley Moggridge has emphasized the need to incorporate Indigenous and traditional knowledge into climate change policymaking, noting that Indigenous communities hold valuable historical insights and lived experiences of environmental change. Alex Dadamo reports.
It is important that Indigenous or traditional knowledge has a place in the way policies on climate change are made and managed. This was highlighted by visiting Professor Bradley Moggridge, a professor of science and associate dean, Indigenous leadership and engagement at the University of Technology, Sydney. Professor Moggridge said Indigenous people have stories and knowledge about climate change in the past that highlighted their experiences with environmental change.
It's very important that Indigenous knowledge has a place in the way we manage and inform policies and change policies. So Indigenous knowledge has been seen not really as evidence, but it is bound by observation. So it's part of what we observe on our traditional lands and also what we understand about our own lands. So we live on the land, we see the land, we've experienced, we have stories, we have songs, there's dances, and I suppose those part of an oral tradition have messages in them. And so we've seen climate change in the past. So there's stories that still are spoken today about sea level rise. So that was the end of the last ice age when the ice caps melted and we saw sea level rise. And so people had to adapt then, 7 to 10,000 years ago, and those stories still exist. So I think Indigenous people have experience in climate change, and they talk climate change, they've felt it, but I suppose it's because it's now, we have to adapt. And the challenge for our traditional lands is that climate change might be happening too fast for species, so they might not have time to adapt. But we are lucky as humans, we hopefully can adapt in time.
Professor Moggridge in the meantime says he hopes his visit will inspire students to take up studies in science research.
That other bit of hope is that this tour can inspire the next generation to maybe do science, maybe not. They might have customary obligations, but if they do science, I'm here to help.
Professor Moggridge's tour to the country is purposely to discuss at a seminar the role Indigenous cultures, traditions and knowledge can play in addressing climate change. Alex Dadamo for SIBC TV.